Breaking news this Wednesday night. The first phase of a Gaza peace deal struck. What the U.S. president says Israel and Hamas have agreed to. Pressure piles on the prime minister to strike a trade deal with the U.S.
Now those Elmos have come down. The American tariffs have doubled.
Plus, Mark Carney's pitch to Trump about reviving the Keystone XL pipeline. Canada's most wanted.
We are committed to finding you.
The unique approach police are using to try to track down 25 fugitives. An arrest in California's deadly and destructive Palisades fire. Why police believe this man did it.
She's a sparrow.
Plus, you can't keep her down.
But I'm not dying.
Dolly Parton's message to the world and how the music legend is helping feed the hungry in Manitoba.
Global National with Dawna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. We begin with breaking news. The U.S. president says a peace deal has been reached between Israel and Hamas. Talks have been underway for 3 days in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, including with Donald Trump's special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff. In a social media post tonight, Trump announced Israel and Hamas have signed off on the first phase of his 20-point peace plan. He says this means all of the hostages will be released very soon, and Israel will withdraw their troops to an agreed-upon line as the first steps towards a strong, durable, and everlasting peace. All parties, he says, will be treated fairly. Israel's prime minister posting tonight, with God's help, we will bring them all home. Qatar's foreign ministry says the agreement will allow for the release of the remaining Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners and the entry of aid into Gaza. There are reports the hostage release could begin Saturday or Sunday. Hamas confirmed in a statement tonight it has signed the deal, which it says determines the end of the war in Gaza, the withdrawal of the occupation from it, the entry of aid, and the exchange of prisoners. And it calls on countries of the world to force Israel to fully implement the demands of the agreement and not allow it to evade or delay the implementation of it. And it thanked the mediating countries as well as the efforts of the U.S. president. Earlier today, Trump had said a deal was close.
Got a good chance of happening. I may go there sometime toward the end of the week, maybe on Sunday, actually, and we'll see. But there's a very good chance negotiations are going along very well.
There's still no detail on timelines, where Israel will withdraw to, and who will govern the Gaza Strip. But this does appear to be the biggest breakthrough in the war that has gone on for 2 years. Canada's Prime Minister has returned from a second trip to the Oval Office in Washington, D.C., and the pressure is mounting on Mark Carney to deliver on his promise to bring an end to the trade war with the U.S. There appeared to be lots of goodwill between President Trump and Mark Carney, who says talks are progressing.
There's going to be, in my view, some bilateral deals, there already are, alongside USMCA. It's not an either or necessarily, and that's one of the realities of the negotiations.
But there is nothing tangible yet. And as David Aiken reports, there's talk of Carney reviving an old idea, the Keystone XL pipeline, to try to jumpstart negotiations.
Because I want to be a great man, too.
They laughed together, buttered each other up, spent time talking trade. But for all that, President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Mark Carney had no deals and no breakthroughs to announce.
Rien, nada.
And that's where the opposition picked up the next day. The Bloc Québécois leader said the truth is the Prime Minister came back empty-handed with nothing at all.
Now those Elmos have come down. The American tariffs have doubled. We have by far the weakest economy in the G7.
Carney deflected the criticism.
We have the best deal with the Americans, and the third thing that's true is we will get an even better deal.
One of those sitting in on Monday's White House meeting was U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. Wednesday, Lutnick gave closed-door remarks at a conference in Toronto where he took what a source described to Global News as, quote, an aggressive stance towards Canada's auto industry, end quote. That Lutnick's message was, quote, America first, Canada second. Ontario's Premier Doug Ford was in the room at the time and outside told reporters it was the clearest indication yet that the Trump administration wants to repatriate all of Canada's car assembly operations.
I would say it's a massive threat when you have the Secretary of Commerce coming out and saying that, and the president, you'd only say it if the president gave him the green light. So we have to be prepared.
Ford is calling on Carney to hit back with more retaliatory tariffs, something conservatives in Ottawa support.
Today we learned that he's backing down again on auto tariffs. Why is it that he's selling out our auto workers at a time when they need him most?
What we have at this point with the United States for the auto sector is the lowest tariff in the world, less than 10%, less than 10%, lower than Europe, lower than Korea, lower than Japan. We have the lowest tariff, and we are still negotiating.
One final note, Dawna. We have been told by government sources that Carney suggested to Trump that it would be a good idea to restart the twice-canceled Keystone XL oil pipeline project and use Canadian steel to finish it. Now, few details beyond that were provided, and Keystone's owner, South Bow of Calgary, said in a statement it is not aware of the discussions between Carney and Trump, but it does support efforts to find ways to increase the transport of Canadian crude to the market. Dawna.
Okay, David Aiken in Ottawa. Thanks, David. The federal Liberals are revamping their border security bill after a backlash over the impact it would have on civil liberties and privacy. Revised legislation was tabled in the House of Commons today. The law is designed to strengthen the border and make the country safer, but as Mackenzie Gray explains, there was concern it went too far. Mackenzie.
Days after forming government, Dawna, the Liberals proposed a sweeping overhaul to Canada's border and policing laws, a bill so controversial the Public Safety Minister has been forced to partially back down.
This happened as a result of conversations I've had with a number of people. This is not coming from PMO or anyone else.
But the Prime Minister's office had routinely played up the border bill with the Trump administration to show Canada was serious about fentanyl coming over the border, pointing to a clause that allowed letter mail to be opened if there were reasonable grounds to suspect there was contraband inside. That garnered criticism from over 300 civil liberties groups and the opposition parties, leading it, along with 4 other sections of Bill C-2, to be dropped as a part of a new bill tabled Wednesday.
We've had a number of conversations with the Americans over the last several months, and those conversations will continue.
Including conversations in the Oval Office when Trump was asked about fentanyl on Tuesday, which is the administration's reasoning for why there are many tariffs on Canada.
The fentanyl crisis.
No, it's not over. I think it's never going to be over, frankly. But Canada's worked hard, and they've done a much better job than in the past.
The Prime Minister pointing out that nearly none of the fentanyl that goes to the U.S. comes from Canada.
On fentanyl, any amount is too much. So we've gotten it down. It's down substantially. It's less than 1%, but it's still too much.
The Liberals were also under fire for a clause that required anyone that provides a service, like a doctor, daycare, or internet provider, to give over your personal information without a warrant if there's a reasonable suspicion you committed a crime, Dawna. Provisions the Liberals will still hope to get through Parliament in the original bill, which has not been withdrawn.
Okay, Mackenzie Gray, thank you. Police forces across the country are asking Canadians to be on the lookout for the 25 most wanted fugitives, and they're using a striking method to do it.
These individuals are considered dangerous, so don't approach them. But if you know something, or if you see something, say something. Pick up the phone. Your tip could make a real difference.
The list was unveiled with the help of police officers wearing so-called spoof masks, masks showing the faces of those wanted for a range of serious crimes. Rewards are being offered to anyone who can help locate the individuals. Topping the list is Brian Fuentes Gramajo, wanted for a murder in Toronto in July. Charges of sexual assault and unlawful confinement against former fashion mogul Peter Nygard have been stayed because of missing evidence. The judge in Winnipeg ruled Nygard's right to a fair trial was violated because police failed to keep notes and reports related to interviews done with the woman who alleges she was sexually assaulted by Nygard at his Winnipeg warehouse in November of 1993. The 84-year-old is serving an 11-year prison term after being convicted in another case. He still faces sex charges in Quebec and extradition to the United States on sex trafficking and racketeering charges. Another example of President Trump going after those on his hit list unfolded in a U.S. court today. Former FBI Director James Comey pleaded not guilty in a case that is widely seen as purely political. Trump has called Comey, who ordered the investigation into the 2016 Trump campaign's connections to Russia, a liar and a leaker, and he's called for Comey to be prosecuted. Jackson Prosco reports.
Inside this Virginia courthouse, former FBI Director James Comey pleaded not guilty.
pushing back against charges brought by the very Justice Department he once served.
There are costs to standing up to Donald Trump.
The allegations of lying and obstruction of Congress stem from 5-year-old Senate testimony in which Comey denied authorizing leaks to the media.
I stand by what the testimony you summarized that I gave in May of 2017.
Comey was indicted by a grand jury in late September. The case was only prosecuted after repeated calls from President Donald Trump.
I think he's a crooked guy. He's a dirty cop, Comey.
In the rush to try Comey, the Trump administration fired a prosecutor who refused to advance the case, replacing them with Trump's former personal attorney, while the FBI reportedly suspended an agent who refused to parade Comey in front of the cameras for a perp walk.
This is not about winning a lawsuit. This is about striking terror in the hearts of people who criticize President Trump.
Comey's defense team plans to argue the prosecution is politically motivated and should be dropped before the trial starts in early January.
As far as selective prosecution defenses go, this case has something going for it that others don't, which is a specific tweet from the president directing the prosecution of James Comey.
Trump seems unfazed by those concerns and has openly called on the Justice Department to go after more of his perceived enemies.
Who is the next person on your list in this retribution?
It's not a list, but I think there'll be others. I mean, they're corrupt.
On social media, Trump openly called for the arrest of the mayor of Chicago and the governor of Illinois, alleging that they failed to protect federal immigration officers. It's yet one more sign that Trump's desire for targeted prosecutions doesn't stop with James Comey. Dawna?
Jackson Prosco in Washington. Thanks, Jackson. A man in Florida has been charged with starting a devastating wildfire in California earlier this year. The deadly Pacific Palisades fire was one of the most destructive in the history of Los Angeles. Mike Armstrong reports on what we know about the suspect.
Well, today's a difficult day.
Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass says she hopes the arrest of a suspect is a step towards justice, but that for the people who lived through January's fires, it also brings back the trauma.
My heart right now goes out to all of the people who survived, and of course, those individuals that didn't.
The arrest was made Tuesday in Florida, but announced by U.S. Justice Department officials a day later. Jonathan Rinderknecht is charged with destruction of property by means of fire. The 29-year-old was driving for Uber the night the fire was started.
2 of his passengers told law enforcement that he appeared agitated and angry that night.
That building is gone.
Investigators have pieced together the suspect's actions just after midnight on New Year's. They say he dropped off a passenger, parked, walked up this trail, and set a fire. According to court documents, he then called 911, left, and returned to film firefighters battling the flames.
Although firefighters suppressed the blaze, the fire continued to smolder and burn underground.
The technical term is a holdover fire. It started up again 7 days after it was set and then spread by strong winds. Close to 7,000 homes and businesses were destroyed and 12 people killed.
During his interview, he lied about where he was when he first saw the Lockman fire.
Investigators say they had the suspect in their sights early. He was first interviewed in January. The charge he faces has a minimum sentence of 5 years, but more charges could be added, including possibly homicide. Mike Armstrong, Global News, Montreal.
Accusations against a Canadian seafood processor coming up. Its connection to the temporary foreign workers program. A New Brunswick seafood processor has been accused of violating the rules of the temporary foreign workers program. Bolero Shellfish Processing has been handed a $1 million fine by the federal government and banned from hiring foreign workers under the program for a decade. Heidi Petrachik reports on what the company is accused of and why advocates for foreign workers say it is too easy for employers to skirt the rules.
Me siento afectada, aún siento vulnerabilidad.
I still feel vulnerable, says Estefania Montez, describing her experience as a migrant worker in New Brunswick. Her former workplace, Bolero Shellfish, is in a rural part of the province, more than 200 kilometers from Moncton, a fish processing plant the federal government now says violated the temporary foreign worker program.
This fine proves what we already know, which is that migrant workers don't have the same rights as Canadian citizens.
The $1 million fine against Bolero comes with a 10-year ban on hiring temporary foreign workers. The federal government claims the company didn't provide proper pay or working conditions, violated provincial and federal labor laws, and didn't ensure a workplace free from abuse or reprisal.
And the real focus that our program has is prevention of this kind of abuse.
The plant's parent company denies wrongdoing, writing Bolero Shellfish categorically rejects the conclusions of the federal government, adding it will challenge the federal government's decision in court. A group assisting Bolero workers wants money from the fine used to help people like Montez.
Y necesitamos que nos apoye a nosotros como afectados.
We need them to support us as victims, she says, and we need them to give us compensation. The Migrant Workers Alliance for Change also points to bigger problems.
The Bolero fine is an exception. The median fine is $5,000. Most employers are walking away with a slap on the wrist.
And the low-wage stream commonly used by the seafood industry, says this researcher, lacks coordinated enforcement and accountability.
So I think New Brunswick is so bad because most people are coming in through the low wage, which is the law of the jungle. It's not regulated at all.
Porque se supone que veníamos a buscar una vida de calidad, una vida digna aquí.
In the end, a dignified life is what Montez hoped for in Canada, a life she now says she hasn't found. Heidi Petracek, Global News, Halifax.
A constitutional showdown ahead. What's at stake as the federal government and premiers clash over the notwithstanding clause? The federal government is pushing back in a growing fight over use of the notwithstanding clause in Canada's Charter of Rights and Freedoms. The Justice Minister, Sean Fraser, rejects demands from 5 Conservative premiers to withdraw Ottawa's legal arguments seeking limits on using the clause. Fraser calls the premier's position untenable, saying it is unimaginable for a federal government to stay silent on a case that he says could redefine charter rights. Heather Urix-West breaks down the arguments.
As an important aspect of Canada's constitution heads to court, Team Canada is clashing.
What we're seeing, and I'm fearful that in many ways we see Minister Fraser, putting forward, the opportunity for the courts to actually change the very intent of the Constitution.
We're going to do what we believe is the right thing to advance independent legal arguments.
At issue is the notwithstanding clause, a provision of the 1982 Constitution that ensures when it comes to passing laws, elected governments and not the courts have final say.
The Supreme Court has already ruled more than 30 years ago that the notwithstanding clause is a part of our Constitution and that clearly provincial legislatures can use it.
But this winter, the Supreme Court will hear a case asking if laws protected by the notwithstanding clause can still be scrutinized by the courts. In a filing submitted to the court last month, Ottawa asked for limits on how the notwithstanding clause could be invoked. In a letter to the Prime Minister Tuesday, the premiers of Alberta, Saskatchewan, Ontario, Quebec, and Nova Scotia asked the federal government's submission be withdrawn. These arguments threaten national unity by seeking to undermine the sovereignty of provincial legislatures.
I find that position untenable, particularly at a time when in Canada and around the world, democracies are increasingly under strain.
A critical part of negotiating the Constitution, the notwithstanding clause was seen as a way for provincial governments to retain sovereignty when passing laws. But the provision is being used across Canada more and more. In 2019, Quebec used it to support a law that bans public sector workers from wearing religious symbols. Ontario and Saskatchewan have since used it as well.
So we are in a new moment where the notwithstanding clause is become a larger part of the constitutional conversation.
With Canada's top court set to weigh in the months to come. Heather Urix-West, Global News, Calgary.
Oh, lately, everybody thinks that I am sicker than I am. Do I look sick to you?
Dolly Parton puts an end to the rumors and raises money in Manitoba. That's next. You may have heard the rumors about Dolly Parton. She did postpone her concerts in Las Vegas, and her sister did ask the public to pray for Dolly. But today, Dolly herself said, forget about all those rumors. She is dealing with a few health issues, she says, but they're not serious, and she's just fine.
But I figured if you heard it from me, you'd know that I was okay. So anyhow, that's what I wanted to say. And I'm not ready to die yet. I don't think God is through with me, and I ain't done working.
She has also made and donated a bowl that, along with others made by celebrities, will be auctioned off to support Manitobans facing food insecurity. Melissa Ridgen reports on how Dolly Parton is channeling her energy into a special cause.
If you were to envision what a Dolly Parton-style bowl would look like, this would be it. Over the top with rhinestones, sequins, and feathers, all from the icon's actual wardrobe. Signed and designed by Dolly herself to be auctioned off by a Manitoba food bank.
Just like the life of Dolly Parton, you know, a hardscrabble upbringing, we've had a bit of a hardscrabble time getting this bowl here to harvest. A few mishaps along the way. The first bowl we sent broke in transit in getting over to Dolly. So another one was sent, it was decorated, it was signed, and then it ended up on the roof of somebody's car. You know how you leave your coffee on top of a car? Ended up on the roof of somebody's car. Good Samaritan intervenes. Hey, this belongs to Dolly. Let's get it back to her. It ends up at harvest, and it all worked out for the best.
This comes as the singer took to social media Wednesday to quell fears about her health after her sister caused panic, asking the public for prayers for the singer on Tuesday.
I wanted to put everybody's mind at ease, those of you that seem to be real concerned, which I appreciate.
The star downplayed health procedures she's going through and previously joked they don't involve her plastic surgeon. Dolly's bowl can be bid on Harvest Manitoba's website, along with creations by Katy Perry, John Travolta, and Jelly Roll, with the Queen of Country's bowl expected to reign supreme. Melissa Ridgen, Global News, Winnipeg.
That is Global National for this Wednesday. I'm Dawna Friesen. Tonight's Air Canada showcases Osoyoos, BC, the Grill Lake War Memorial near Unity, Saskatchewan, and Halifax, Nova Scotia. Thanks for watching and hope to see you here again tomorrow. Bye-bye.